What is up, YouTube? Big Papa Jake back again with another episode of It Figures, where I talk figures. And today we're getting back in the groove of things, and I'm going to review. It is Series 27 of the Target exclusive Legends series. It is Terry Funk, the blue version. There's also a red version. I believe the red version is a chase. I had the option to get both. I chose this one, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. So today we're going to review Terry Funk, or as people refer to him, the Funker. And let's get to it. First, let's take a look at the packaging and the figure in the box. So again, this is Series 27, the Legends. I love this packaging. I've talked about it before. It's a throwback to the old original Legends Series 1 through 5. I think had this design, but it took into the box shape of the defining moments. I really like this. The wider base, the kind of shape of it. So Terry Funk looking good in there in his blue outfit with the branding iron and the blue chaps. And yeah, we're going to talk about this figure and crack it open. It's got the WWE Legends logo there. Terry Funk, Mattel of course. On the side, Terry Funk with him looking like a mean old Texan would look. And on this side, same thing, Terry Funk. Mean mug in there. WWF logo. There's the back with the cross cell. Now, it's going to surprise some of you, but I was not interested in any of these other figures. I wasn't sure I was getting Terry Funk, but I decided to when I got to look at the figure. But I'll go through why I decided to pick him up. Got the Undertaker in the Big Evil outfit, you know, one of his iterations of a biker Undertaker. You've got the Great Muta. You've got Billy Gunn when he was one of the Smoking Guns before he was B.A. Billy Gunn, if you guys know what that means. And then you got Terry Funk. Again, Terry is the chase in this series, and I believe the chase is the red outfit with the black. And I chose to get this one because I don't have another Terry Funk in my collection that is in blue attire. I only have the one that came in the Coliseum collection and is more red, traditional looking outfit with the tan chaps and that. So I decided to go with the blue. I really love the looks of it. But let's read what it says on the back. We got to get the old man readers on here. It says Terry Funk, titles world champion. Of course, he was NWA world champion. So they're referring to that. And it says, in 1989, the man from Double Cross Ranch double-crossed Ric Flair after the Nature Boy doubted Funk's readiness for a title shot. The Funker finally got his opportunity at that year's Great American Bash and put on a barn burner that's considered one of the greatest matches in the illustrious careers of both him and Ric Flair. So yeah, this is based on his time in the NWA, and I'll explain kind of a little bit while I open this up, which we're going to open them up right now. But I'll kind of explain, you know, what I know Terry Funk from, and that is really from the WWF. When I first saw Terry Funk, and I was watching the NWA as a kid, I didn't have cable, so I had to go over to a buddy's house to watch, you know, 605 on the TBS Superstation. And that was mainly, I'll say, in the mid 80s, mid to late 80s. So really I stopped watching that as soon as the WWF really heated up in 87, 88. But what I knew Terry Funk from was Saturday Night's Main Event in the probably 86, 87 era, one of the beginning episodes. So, oh, that's kind of cool. You see inside there, you got Terry Funk staring at you. I wonder if that comes out. Nope, that's printed on the back. It's pretty neat, though, that they went ahead and put the artwork in there. Anyhow, so yeah, I knew Terry Funk from Saturday Night's Main Event. He came and had, I'll say, a cup of coffee with the WWF in the mid to late 80s, I would say 86. And he wrestled Hulk Hogan on Saturday Night's Main Event. I remember that. I also remember him having Jimmy Hart as his manager, and I remember Jimmy Hart wrestling, or not Jimmy Hart wrestling, Terry Funk wrestling, however, the Junkyard Dog with Jimmy Hart in his corner. Well, apparently, Jimmy Hart somehow got branded right on his butt with the branding iron. And it was very comical because the branding iron was not hot, obviously. It was simply, it had black paint on it. So somehow the Junkyard Dog pulled off Jimmy Hart's pants, and it was just his underwear, his little tight red underwear. I remember it, laughing, how could a guy wear red underwear? And he branded him with the double X's here right on his backside, and all it was paint, so it looked like a magic marker X right on his butt. But I remember, you know, heck, I'm a 10-year-old kid. I thought that was friggin' hilarious. But yeah, let's get a look at Terry Funk here with the branding iron. And of course, that's his trademark. You know, he's a cowboy from Texas. And yeah, so far so good with this. I'm going to say, if you take a look here, look at that face, that's Terry Funk. Terry Funk is considered a legend. There's a lot of people nowadays who, unfortunately, wouldn't know who Terry Funk was, but I got his hat on backwards too. But he is definitely a legend in the NWA in the territory days. He was heavyweight champion. He was everything that you wanted in a champion. He was a big heel that could come in. He could work, you know, very stiff, very rough matches, and eventually drop it to the baby face of the territory and then gain it back. So he was the prototypical heel champion. But I'm just going to get a look here. Nice removable hat. Head scan there that looks like Terry Funk all day, every day. And the funny thing is, you know, a little trivia question about Terry Funk. You know, he is one of those guys who has wrestled in every, you know, major promotion that I could think of. He wrestled in WWF, he wrestled in ECW, he wrestled in NWA/WCW. He was a workhorse. And later in his career, very late in his career, because I mean he was in his 40s, I think almost 50s too, and he would be doing hardcore matches and just getting beat up. And him and Mick Foley in the Attitude Era of WWF, really, they formed a tag team and also had some feuds. Mick Foley was a huge student of Terry Funk and a big proponent of bringing him into the WWF at the time during the Attitude Era, even though he was older, a little past his prime, but he could still go, still very hardcore, and a lot of those heavy-hitting matches. So as you can see here, and he's got that poncho, I'll call it. I guess I don't know what else to call it. Very nicely made. This is all cloth goods. I love when it's cloth, especially when it doesn't look weird. Some of these suits that they put on, if they're cloth, like the new Triple H figure in the 3-pack with Batista and Randy Orton, that looks weird. But this cloth looks really good. The chaps, really well done with the Double Cross Ranch sign there and the stars. And as you can see, he's got his tights on underneath, his blue and white tights. The other ones are red and black, I believe. Like I said, the more traditional, what you think of him for. But again, I didn't know Terry Funk from the NWA. I never saw any of his Flair matches. This packaging got me. I'm going to look up that Great American Bash match between him and Flair, because I do love Ric Flair, and I'd love to see him and Terry Funk. I know there was some build up to the feud that I knew, but I've never seen that match, so I'll have to check it out. I'm sure Ric Flair bled like a stuck pig, because that's what he does. But yeah, really, I'll call this a weak wave of figures, if I might. This was the only one I wanted, but I do not have an open Terry Funk in my collection. I'm going to put him in my NWA/WCW heel shelf. Bad guys, for those who don't know what heel means. I'm going to put him there, and not necessarily in the golden era of the WWF shelf, even though I think that Junkyard Dog feud is probably the most memorable part of Terry Funk that I have in my wrestling memory. But just a legend. Passed away probably over a year and a half ago now. maybe 2 years, and just really how much he affected the people in wrestling, how many people talked about him. I mean, it rivaled, the outpouring for Hogan that we just saw. Terry Funk was that important to, I'll say, hardcore wrestling for a lot of people, and honestly, he's on some people's Mount Rushmore. Not mine, obviously. I'm not that familiar with all of his matches, just from the more cartoonish WWF stuff. Like I said, branding someone with the branding iron, and it marks them, but with paint. He would do that to the mid card talents when he'd wrestle them on the Saturday and Sunday shows. I remember in WWF, he'd brand them, and again, you could tell they weren't burnt. There was no smoke. It was just essentially magic marker or stamp. Like someone had stuffed it on an ink pad and pressed it on someone. But again, cool concept for kids. They didn't understand when I was that age. I didn't care. It was hilarious. But yeah, Terry Funk looking like he's making a s'more here, but looks really good. Again, the cowboy gimmick. It really wasn't a gimmick for him. He was a rancher. He came from the famous Funk family. His dad, Dory Sr., very famous and successful wrestler. Dory Funk Jr., great in his own right. He came for a couple tag team matches with Terry while they were under Jimmy Hart back in the WWF. That's really how I know Dory Funk Jr. as well. But I also know Dory Funk Jr. was instrumental in training new wrestlers with the WWF for a while. So, but yeah, let me know what you think of Terry Funk. I certainly, again, it was just the optics of this figure. I thought, yep, he looks really neat in this blue. I gotta have it. Like to have an open Terry Funk on my WCW shelf. All I have is the Coliseum Collection one. I wish I'd have brought it in here. I forgot to grab it off the shelf, but this is pretty emblematic of Terry Funk and who he was and what he did. So shout out to the Funker, great wrestler. Appreciate what he did to help build other wrestlers and continue the tradition of professional wrestling. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm not all that familiar with his work and his matches, but I do, as I said, I intend to check out those matches with Flair and see how that feud went. So drop me a line. Let me know what you think of Terry Funk, what you think of the figure, what you think of this line of the Legends. I got to tell you, again, as much of a sleeper as this was, not a sleeper, but I'll say a yawner of a series this was, where I didn't want really anything until I saw this one. I'm very, very excited for what's coming up. I've seen a lot of the previews from San Diego Comic-Con and some of the figures that are coming up. I am going to be opening my wallet, unfortunately, for a lot more of these figures. Hope my wife doesn't watch this, but there's just figures I've always wanted that are coming out. There's a Charles Robinson figure, a famous referee. They call him Little Nate because he looks like Ric Flair, and he had a gimmick with Ric Flair, but I don't have any referees in my collection, so Charles Robinson is coming. Mr. Fuji, one of my favorite managers ever, speaks the 80s to me. I mean, that Mr. Fuji with Demolition, with Powers of Pain, with Don Morocco. I mean, these are back in the heyday of managers. So that figure's coming out in the Legends series. There's just a whole bunch that I am going to get when they come out. Also already pre-ordered a few more. So the next wave I'm going to be doing is the Build-A-Figure Ted DiBiase Monday Night Wars. It's got Albert, it's got Jerry the King Lawler, Hulk Hogan, and what's the other? Oh, Great Muta in the NWO outfit. So I'm going to be cracking those open one at a time. Once Lawler comes in, Lawler's the only one I don't have. So once he comes in, I'm going to open those up. He's on pre-order, so I should have him very shortly. Walmart didn't do me any favors, man. They canceled Lawler at first. I went out and I found one. Probably ended up paying a couple bucks more through Walmart for him after they canceled my backer. I think there was $19 at first, and it was a little more when I ordered him when he was back in stock. So, but I had to complete the Ted DiBiase build a figure because that's really why I ordered that wave. I'll talk about that too when I start opening them. But really, yeah, I think the next one I'll start with is the NWO Great Muta. So anyway, yeah, not a whole lot out there on the shelves. I will also there's a few pickups I've had here and there that I'll try to review. Hopefully I'll have some time because I went from 0 to 60 miles an hour. I had nothing to review, and all of a sudden, boom, all kinds of stuff hitting. So, but yeah, let me know what you think. Throw me a like and subscribe. Otherwise, good hunting and deuces.